we talked today, and you said, "Hey, listen, I'd love to stop by." On the heels of you inviting me last night to what is explain to me what exactly that is.
Right. So one of the things that Mayor Fulop does and does it really well. He connects at a personal level. So he has the ability to not treat people like a transaction in life, but really wants to get to understand what their problems are, what their feedback is as to how the state is going, how their economic affairs are going. And, he genuinely cares. So, that was a large part of me deciding to run on his ticket is, I like what he's done with Jersey City. But, you need somebody who is willing to connect with people at that kind of a level. I mean, we were there last night for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you get an audience sometimes that's all for your message. And then you have some nights where not everybody is with your message, but then he has the ability to reason with people and speak to people at a common level. This is not a man who cares about titles or power or anything like that. He genuinely wants to make a difference. And I see a lot of that in myself, and I see a lot of that in my running mates with Chris and Dolores. The candidates have to have the right intentions in place. And he did a great job, and Team Fulop has done an amazing job vetting people across the state to run for assembly seats, as well as commissioners here in Bergen County. So it's pretty exciting. So that was a meet and greet. He does them all the time.
Got it. Okay.
And it gives an opportunity to introduce you to other people who are running, commissioners and assembly. So, he works around the clock, and we try to work around the clock with him because we believe strongly in his message and in his idea of how government should work for the people. Yeah,
it was very cool to see it firsthand. Like, I have friends that are in politics. I have friends like yourself who are getting deeper into politics. It's now your second time running in politically.
Sure.
And I'm always intrigued. Like, from the outside looking in, I'm always intrigued, and I keep my finger on the pulse to some degree. But that was my first time, not my first time, in a long time, my first time being in a mix like that and seeing some of how it works. Almost, some of the things people don't see.
Sure.
And one of the coolest things about it was somebody like, Steve, and it was real when I literally was watching movies in here, Tubi, which all of a sudden I found Tubi has awesome movies, out of left field. And he popped up. Now, I don't know if that's like the universe listening, how it does that, like all our phones hear us and stuff. I didn't know what it was. But he did pop up, and I was like, oh, wow, it's crazy. He, very genuine, very real, and from my perspective, and I think a lot of people, and I had mentioned it because I had raised my hand and I said something, right? There's so many people in the middle. There's so many people, like, yes, maybe Democrat or Republican, but not so far either way. Like, very much so, I don't want to say easily swayed, but like are in the middle. They just want good people. They want to believe. They want to feel. And in the 2 hours of him talking, I did not feel like anything was forced. I felt like it was extremely genuine. I was impressed. I'll put it that way. I was impressed. So I appreciate you inviting me.
No, of course. And I think, the neat part about those events, and the one thing that I think Mayor Fulop has identified is that, different towns may have different needs. So instead of just having events at one gathering place, he'll make it personal and go to people's homes.
Yeah, that's good.
Different towns. I mean, nobody's working harder than him in the campaign right now.
Yeah.
And so it's, like you said, it's genuine. And it's genuine for somebody to open their doors and invite the candidates in, and invite them in. That's a trust thing too. And I just love this part of the campaign trail so far. This has been pretty rewarding, and it's been nice to watch this campaign continue to grow, and for people to experience it, because those who experience it really can see there's a very big difference between the Fulop campaign and team versus the other campaigns that are going on in the state at the same time. Yeah, and I feel that. Like it, being there, talking to you. I mean, like, listen, for one, we've been chatting for the last, few weeks, and as your friend, above everything else, it's like you have an energy right now, and I love that for you. You're excited, and I know you're excited for the right reasons. You're excited because I know where your heart is, what you're looking to accomplish, what you're looking to do for the people. This is not a selfish thing that you're doing, and I know that, and I'm gonna say that for you, because if it comes from you, people will be like, whatever, No.
listen, of course you're doing something that is for you to some extent, but what I know is that you're not excited for that. You're excited because you want to make change, you want to do better, you want things to be better, you want to do better for people, and I just, your energy, there's something about your energy right now, and it's clicking, dude. It's like, feels really good. There's a couple things that I picked up on last night too. Again, just like not keen to the world but seeing it, I can understand it. I'm not an idiot,
Of course.
But yeah, there was a few things. So you're running for Bergen County Commissioner, with Chung, Vitale, Whitco, right? It's Chris, by the way, John, Dolores, just for anybody. And there's a few questions that get thrown into the mix last night. Some very policy driven, some town to town driven, some younger demographic asking about budgets and where do I go after college. Like, the interesting conversations. And one of the ones that stuck out to me was when there was a woman, I don't know who she was, but she mentioned something about the primaries. And so explain this to me, because I might even word it wrong, about the primaries and like new blood coming in. What about the old blood? How does that work? Can you break down to me a little bit about what that was? Because I felt a little bit of tension. Curious.
So look, let me start off by saying this, right? There's a lot of rumors out there circulating. And again, I've talked about this before in an earlier podcast with you regarding, this plan to divide a party or create division within a party or cause problems, right? And that's absolutely in no way, shape, or form what I'm out to do or what my running mates are out to do, right? So you have to remember again that there was this thing called a county line. And with the county line, it was a different way that the political system was working when it came to people wanting to run for office, right? It was really a system that pretty much the hand-picked people would be put in a ballot
position. That's what county line is?
That's what it was.
Got
right?
it.
So
okay.
you would in a nutshell. Okay. Yeah. So what happened was those laws changed in New Jersey. Now, of course, I have nothing to do with that. My running mates have nothing to do with that. And if I wanted to run for a position, well, you run for a position, except now it's drawn through a lottery. And you can be in the same position on a ballot presentation as the incumbents, right? So okay, so
got it.
So all of this talk like we're out to divide people or hurt people. Listen, I've never said a negative thing about any of the current commissioners. I've never said a negative thing. In fact, the entire time that the campaign goes on, I will not address them on a personal level. I will not attack anybody. That's not who I am. And I think they know me and know that I'm not that person either, okay? Now, I'm not going to guarantee you it's not going to come back to me and my running mates, because there's this thing in politics that I dislike a lot, and it's vilifying a human being, right? Digging in their closet to find stuff about them, and then that's the big focus. A mistake John Vitale made in his life, which I'm sure is coming soon to a theater near you, right? A personal mistake, somebody made, or an accusation about Chris Chung or Dolores. You'll see that coming in the coming weeks. Right?
Why do you think that is?
Because
I mean, I kind of know, but I want to hear it from you.
Because that's what the machine does. Okay, that's what the system does. It's almost like hitting repeat and doing the same stuff over and over and over again, because that's how the political election system has worked all these years, just putting people in a place where they get elected over and over and over again. We get stuck in this place where it's just going along with the system. System says do this, we do it. System says this is how we're going to run this campaign and come after them. Let's go after their personal character. Because what are you going to come at a person who puts community before everybody and himself?
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think that that is an out the gate plan to come at you, or do you think that is a response to feeling like they're a threat, maybe they're gaining momentum and now we have to?
It's probably a combination.
Okay.
Right. It's probably a combination.
Yeah.
But it's simply unfair to assume or to make this accusation that, my goal and my running mates' goals are to disrupt the Democratic Party. No, we're running in the Democratic Party. Let's be clear. We might not agree on the way the system was working, and we may agree that we like the way the system's running now with this decision, but that doesn't mean I've lost respect for the people I'm running against. It's a different ruling that occurred. It's a different time this year. Now, what I commonly speak about, and it's the only negative criticism I give to the current commissioners, but truly at the end of the day is not completely their fault, is I talk about this protected incumbent and this complacency factor, right? Well, let me ask you this, and this is just a common sense thing. And these are the things that I talk about because I don't see how they don't exist for real in the real world. And if you look at the action that's causing the reaction, it pretty much sums it up for you, right? So let's pretend for a moment. Well, let's not pretend. Let's say that I'm going to give you a job every 3 years and you don't have to worry about anything, because when your term is up and we're in good graces at the top of the political chain, I'm going to make sure that you're going to be in a position where you're going to win again. So don't worry about it. And then the next cycle, I'm going to do the same thing for you because we're allies. Well, that's how it was working. So how can you tell me that doesn't lead to any level of complacency when you don't have to work to win your seat ever?
Yeah, well, just off that theory alone, right? And what that is alone, like anything, just taking what you're saying. I put it into like my world, right? Like with work or having to, hospitality technology, right? That's what I've been doing for the last 4 years, right? So if I knew that my job's safe for 4 years, I'm good. It means I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to work as hard as I would, feeling a little bit of pressure that there might be others that are going to do better, or I'm not doing well enough and somebody else might come in, right? So there's an automatic obligation. And this is not what you're saying is not a political thing. This is like a life thing. Anybody who has any bit of complacency or cushiness is going to do less. It takes a very special person to have the cushiness, the complacency, and double down and do it for all the right reasons. Like most people like comfort. Right. It's like almost everybody. Innately, most people like comfort.
Right.
And when they get it, when they have it, it takes a very, very special person to continue to move the needle or do a lot of things. So, yeah.
I mean, listen, absolutely. And again, I'm not on a campaign to bash anybody.
I know you're not.
Right. That's not who I am.
I talk to you more than enough to know that your intentions are not.
They're pure. But I'm also going to be real about things too. And so the only conflict that's going on is that this time around, people have to, across the state, have to earn their seats. Right? So I don't see what's wrong with that. Unless the issue is that you were used to not having to do that. And that's what's causing...
Or forgetting when you had to.
Or forgetting when you had to. Okay? And so that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing... There's no mud being slung from this direction at them whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know what?
Zero.
What I do know, and this is not just... I know you enough... what bothers me when I look at politics in general is just once that snowball gets thrown and it keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, like, because what happens is say somebody does do that. They come at John and they say, look what John did 10 years ago. And they start going outside of the scope that is important, right?
Of course.
All right. And we all have our shit. Right. I've made a million mistakes.
Of course.
Many of which I'm not proud of, all of which I've learned from.
Absolutely.
And if people want to use it against me, right, that is much more, in my opinion, a reflection of them than it is of me, because all I have to do is be like, yeah, I fucked up back then. Like, what do you mean? We're human.
You know something too, Robbie, that let me just make this clear too. And like, this is important that I get this message out to people, because look, if I'm going to be the, insurgent of the party by just telling the truth and speaking the truth, well, then so be it. Okay. But I'm going to tell the truth. Right. So when I ran for assembly a couple of years ago and I was part of the machine, endorsed by the machine, when I filled out my background information, I disclosed some mistakes I made in my life. I was deemed then the candidate with with the machine.
Yeah.
Okay. I was picked. Now I'm interested to see when I'm not part of it, what I am as a person running against it.
And
right
when you know
now, I'm going to trust me. You see, this is the thing that it's only going to further my point that it's gonna the route that will more than likely be taken will be taking a shot at personal or private mistakes a person has made in their life. That will more than likely come up. I hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
I do too, and I think, and I'm going to say this to add to what it is you're trying to say in general is it would be actually a breath of fresh air if it doesn't, because truth be told, because it's the way it's supposed to be. It's not this is not a tit for tat, let's cut deep kind of a thing. Although, you want votes, you want to put people down, you want to sway people. I know that it can get ugly. I get it. Right. We've seen it at the highest level, and yes, I know it trickles. But if it didn't, how would you feel if you feel like it's gonna, how would you feel if it didn't?
Well, then I think that, well, first I think it's going to be what it's going to be. Right. So
period.
Right. But it would really blow my mind if the establishment, and notice I name no names or any, because that's not who I am. I don't do that. I'm not calling any particular people out. I'm calling it just the way the system has been built, right? And it would shock me
if they didn't.
It would shock me
based on your based on how it goes, or based on, how do I word this? Based on how it typically goes, or based on
how it typically goes.
Based on how it typically goes.
On how it typically goes. And look, I mean, again, I didn't run with being afraid of anything.
You can't be,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting yourself out.
I was just about to say,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, that's it, whether it happens or not is not going to shock me. I would definitely be more shocked if nothing came about. I would actually respect the establishment a lot more. Yeah. Right.
That was kind of my,
okay. I would respect it a lot more because I mean, they've been a lot more outspoken and divisive than I've been. Right. I mean, I name nobody by names. My name is flung around like it's going out of style, like I'm like an enemy to the political system. And the only way, shape or form I'm being classified as an enemy is by just simply revealing how this has worked for years and what's changed and what the change leads to as far as opportunity for people to run and actually have a shot of being elected, and it putting people in places that have held positions and seats to have to earn it year after year, because I think that's a normal thing only in New Jersey politics for the most part. And then of course, I don't know exactly how it works at the federal level. That's not something I have to truly learn at this stage in time. County's a good start, right? I know that this has changed. The mechanism has changed. The appearance on ballot has changed. The way that it was and the way that it is now had nothing to do with John Vitale, Chris Chung, or Dolores Whitcomb.
For sure.
Right. But it's directed at us, like you're part of that problem.
You're front and center right now, yeah.
We had nothing to do with that ruling, right?
Yeah.
And do I agree with the way that the system is now?
Yeah.
100%. Could I have foreseen it coming when I made the commitment over a year ago to want to run with Fulop? Didn't know if I was going to be selected, but I made that decision a year ago, plus before any of this stuff was even determined. So it's different times. We're in a different place. And I just think that incumbents, and I call them protected incumbents because that point becomes even more proven by the rhetoric and the way they act and the way they react. All that's happening is they're being challenged. I'm challenged every day at my job.
Yeah.
What do you think? There aren't any chefs that would love to have the job at Edgewood Country Club? Of course there are.
Yeah.
Of course there's people that are going to come in and try to get that position.
Yeah.
How do I stay ahead of it? I work hard.
Yeah.
I produce results. You know, these are things I've spoken to community leadership about too. That's how I do it. right? And again, I'm not going back to saying results haven't been produced by the current commissioners. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if it were the way it is now, I common sense would tell you, if you had to work really, really hard every single day in order to maintain what you have and to have a seat at that commissioner table, my common sense thought would be more would have gotten done. Yeah. I don't think I'm out of line saying that. I think I'm in line saying that because it's a natural safe space. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what are some of the things that haven't gotten done? And to double down, I'd like to piggyback on that question, a two-part question. Like, what are some of the things that haven't gotten done that you'd like to see get done? And then what are some of the things that you're looking to do that, will better Bergen County? So look, I think that there's one major thing that can happen right off the bat, right? And I'd love to roll my sleeves up and get started with this. And it's something I don't even have them on right now. Yeah. It starts with a $720 million budget this year, right? Coming up. I always believe that there should be accountability, transparency to how everything is being spent, right? So I think that what would be a great thing would be to put into play a dashboard system that people can log into at the county site and see where all of taxpayers' dollars are being spent, right? Because what that'd be dope. That'd be actually awesome, right? I mean, and that's something. Just if I'm curious, yeah, like as a citizen, right? Because I know the way that people are in the county and every county, and basically you just write your check to pay your taxes and you're done. Yeah. You don't think about it. You don't think about that, right? But it matters. It'd be good to know it's there. We don't, as a citizen, don't know it's there. Like, so, we're told what to do, how to do it. These are the rules. These are the regulations. Boom. Great. When you say this is the budget, I don't even know that this is the budget. Right. I'm not even keen to that. Right. You know what I mean? So listen, seeing's believing, right? And that's my, now that if it were there, my point is like, if it were there, right, I might like every Sunday afternoon, just kind of like, oh, well, I'm curious as to what's the harm in it. There is no harm in it. For me, there's no harm in it. It's only positive. Right. So the harm in it for, if you don't want it, I guess the harm in it would be, and I guess this is what you're kind of alluding to, is like, where's it going? I get right. All right. I don't know. I get it. Same with me. I get it. Correct. I get it. Right. So I mean, that's a good starting point. Yeah. Right. Yeah, not a terrible thing. No. And I think that is a big first step. Right. And then from there on out, listen, there's certainly things I'm not going to say, hey, this is absolutely everything to do with commissioners and the county and how it operates. But I do have to believe, like, at some point in time, that there's definitely more efficient, better ways that this can be run and services can be channeled. And I do believe that new ideas are helpful. These are the same ideas of the same people for at least 3 terms or longer. Yeah. Right. So again, common sense would tell you that maybe term limits aren't a terrible thing in local politics, period. Right. I mean, to assume that the same people are going to continue to do the best job every single election cycle after election cycle after election cycle, I think that you're not in reality with that. Yeah. Right. I think you're not in reality with that. And so now if the general public sees the results, likes the accountability, likes the transparency, likes what the commissioners are doing, like what the assembly's doing, like what the governor's doing, okay, then you go back to those polls and you vote that this person has showed, they've done an amazing job. Yeah. Right. So this is a new introduction to how the system's going to work voting wise moving forward right now. And here's the first test with primaries. So why the change?
this is a statewide thing. So why the change? Where did it come from? Is it because of some of the things that you're saying?
It came from yes, things like I was saying, things that people within the political system were saying.
Yeah.
But Andy Kim, our senator, was the one who really put this in place, put this in play, and basically spelled out what New Jersey does versus the other 49 states in the country.
And similar to your whys was his reasoning.
Yeah, 100%.
Got you.
And it went to the court. And the court ruled in the favor that to abolish the county line.
Got it.
So it's not even something when people want to place blame on people who want to run for office.
Somebody's going to.
That's correct. And the state of New Jersey made the decision, not Chung, Vitale, Whitco, LeBruno, Park.
You kind of landed in the crosshairs, though.
Right. You landed in the crosshairs of it. But to vilify us running, come on. I mean, if everybody's done an amazing job and everybody's name is known to everybody out there and everybody's, the best suited for those seats where they are, well, then those seats should win. And if that's the case and they win and I don't win, okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of this is I just popped up in my head. It reminds me of like when I tell my wife I'm going to be home at a certain time and I'm not, and instead of holding myself accountable because I'm not home, I instead get frustrated with you because you're supposed to understand. Like, no, I told you I was going to be home at a certain time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to vilify you or bring up a few things that well, you know what? Last week you really pissed me off too. So like, this is the bottom line is I told you I was going to do something, whatever. So you are in an interesting space right now, in an interesting place, by choice, I guess, because of running, but not by choice in a sense of what you're receiving from it. From an outside perspective, I mean, I think in general, competition, no matter what field or anything, is just wildly healthy. You either win and grow or you don't and learn. And either way, there's wisdom behind it, knowledge behind it, growth individually behind it. That's just like from a very high level perspective.
I'm sure.
To me, it's not super complicated. Now that you're in it, right? How do you feel? Because I remember when this was first a topic of conversation, and it was like, I'm getting in the throes of it. Now, I feel like you're even more passionate now after the few weeks of being in the throes of the political rat race, whatever it might be. Like, where do you stand today? Like, where's your heart? Where's your soul? Like, have you doubled down on everything that I ever thought and everything I ever felt? 100%, even more than I even thought when I started. Is that where you're at? Or is it like, I'm learning a few things on top, or is it all of it?
No, I think that before I ran, I had a message to put out to the world, and to put out to Bergen County. And I think it's been actually verified. So as it continues to be verified, it continues to fuel my willingness to continue to work harder and try harder. Because I want to do something where results are felt, right? I don't want to talk about it. I want to get to work and do it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's tough when you're running, right? Because I'm out saying things to people, making absolutely no promises. How can I make a promise in an arena I've not been in? Right?
You can't.
You can't, right? So what I've promised is that I will continue to be the same person that I am, that the community has grown to know and trust and respect and like. And I think those qualities were all developed on the grounds of just me being me and my family and us being real and true to community and to people. And the further along the campaign trail right now, the more and more I feel the momentum picking up.
Yeah.
I feel it, I feel it growing, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting. And through the process, you learn a lot, right? You have time to self-reflect and think about, the decision you made to do this and put yourself out there. And if you ask me to do this again tomorrow, I mean, it would be a no-brainer. I would have learned a lot from this race and did it again. The first time I ran, I really didn't learn too much. I didn't really have the support that I needed to to go to the finish line, right? And again,
you learned that though.
I learned that, right? And so you're calculated in the decision you make the second go. And what I've learned is in politics, and I hate that word, but it's what it is. It is what it is. In this world, the majority of people who have excelled, and even Steve Phillip has said this, you lose a race, right? You lose, and that's okay. In fact, that's what all great leaders in the political world ultimately have had happen to them. They've lost. And if you really go back and think about it, you've been humbled, right? You've learned. And instead of running a divisive campaign, you run a true campaign. And you stick to your guns and the things that you believe in. And you think about the merit of what you're running on. And what I learned in this race so far is I'm running on John Vitale. Right? I'm running on the things that I believe in, and they just so happen to align on the Phillip ticket.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't coached.
Yeah.
I wasn't coached.
No.
I have not been coached.
No, you're raw.
I'm raw.
Yeah.
Right? And Chris and Dolores are raw. They're raw. They're not, we're not having meetings saying, okay, you need to say this tomorrow. You need to do that. That's not occurring.
Yeah.
We're actually on a ticket where we feel we belong. Now that makes it really powerful.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
It's more relatable.
It's relatable, and you know that your message is jiving, and you're part of the same belief system. When you're part of the same belief system, it certainly makes it easier to run a campaign. You don't have to check with anybody. Check with the bosses. Check with the people. Can I say this? Can I do this? Who should be on this invitation? Where should I be? Should I invite these people from the establishment? Should these people be here? That was the first run for me, and it was very not me. Yeah, I tried hard to really be me, but it's hard, right? Like
you don't know if it's the right thing.
You don't know what you're doing, and you don't have support to know if you're doing the right thing. You're questioning everything.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a punch at anybody. That's how it was for me. That's just me being upfront.
Yeah.
This time around, when the message matches the message and the merit that we're running on matches, and the character of leadership matches your character of leadership, and the whole process is embraced, and everybody can run their races, have support, but really, truly, genuinely, the advice was be yourselves. That's the ticket I wanted to run on.
Yeah. And for me, it's like the accountability that I'm hearing. That is the most refreshing thing out of all of it. I listening to you be accountable. I messed up. I learned from it. I didn't do this right, or I didn't do that right, or, through the process, I'm starting to really understand certain things. And why I say that is because, yes, you're running on what you want to accomplish, what your goals are, what you're going to bring to being Bergen County Commissioner and the county in general, right? And I feel that. But I also, that gives me a sense of like, okay, say something does happen where you're proven wrong or it wasn't the right move, that you're one of those that will listen, maybe pivot a little bit, take in right? But do it because it's truthful, right? I like that in people. I like that in people in general, because to me that leads towards what's real and what's right, period.
Well, knowing where people stand.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's like super important.
It's very important.
And I've learned a lot from Steve Phillip with that, right? Because if you look at his campaign, okay, he's the only candidate running. I mean, people can actually investigate this, and I invite them to do it. The man spells out policies to a T.
Yeah. He's
policy driven.
Yeah, he's policy driven.
Okay, he's not. The rest of it is, in my opinion, when I listen to everybody else running, it just sounds like a coached politician using punch phrases that sound good.
You've been taught or coached through.
Correct. There's no substance behind.
And that's what I'm saying. It felt like not really knowing exactly what I was even going to. I didn't know what I was walking into.
Right.
Right. So you're talking first real impression.
Right.
definitely definitely knowledgeable,
right?
Like wildly knowledgeable. Had a answer for everything, and even when there was like a something that made him think, you could tell he thought about it. He wasn't what I took. I just felt like, all politics aside, as a human being, just wildly genuine, and wildly authentic, and like wildly who he is. Period. That was, to me, the most impressive thing. All the policy stuff, like, I have to understand a lot more to even wrap my head around it and base any type of opinion on that. I'd be lying to myself. I'd be lying to you it was the genuinity. Yeah. And that's what you are. I know that as a human, that's what you are. Yeah. So like, what's the next? How many days? Yeah, you have 30.
Yeah, we're down to like 30. Well, June 10th.
June 10th. So 30.
Today's May 6th.
4.
Yeah, 35, 34.
So what is the next 34, 35 days look like for John Vitale?
I mean, I'm going.
Is it Vitale?
Vitale, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, Dick Vitale caught a lot over the years for not pronouncing that.
When I said it, I was like, yeah, that ain't right. Yeah.
I'm just going to continue to work as hard as I'm working, trying to meet as many people as I can meet, and continue to deliver my message. And I think, like I said, the momentum is there. I believe that this campaign is effective. It's raw. It's real. It's true. It doesn't have a political feel to it. It doesn't feel like it's been coached. Mm-hmm. Everybody can be who they are. My team, the three of us, are definitely totally different individuals that all have our own strengths. And together, those three strengths help you get to the finish line, right? So we know that amongst us that are running, Chris, Dolores, and myself. But, from the top down is where it starts a lot of the time. And, we know we have the full up camp support. We know that the people that are running across the state are wonderful candidates, win, lose. They're wonderful candidates. Mm-hmm. And, I'm proud of the campaign we've been running. And I think that we're just going to continue to keep it the way that we're keeping it. And I think that anything negative that comes up or is not going to help the cause. It's actually only going to hurt.
I agree.
It's only going to hurt.
People see through it.
In fact, at this stage where we are right now, it's probably going to make more people mad.
It's just in general, people are over that kind of stuff. They don't. It's not their thing. People want to even see because we've all, dude. Everybody has their shit.
Yeah, and the issue with it, of course they do. But the issue with it is this: is that we're in a place right now where people are fed up with politics. It does not even matter the letter next to your name anymore.
Yeah, it's leadership. I look at leadership. I want leadership. I want to feel. I've always said this when it comes, but I want to look up at a podium, let's say, a podium, and look and feel it.
Right. If the worst thing that our camp is doing is calling the opposition protected incumbents and operating at a level of complacency, if that's the worst thing, but we firmly do believe that both are the truth. In fact, it is the truth. Mm-hmm. If you really
by definition, by law, whatever,
by default, it would have to be the case, right? If that's the worst,
you can live with it.
I mean, we ran a incredibly clean, informative campaign.
Yeah.
And that's all.
And you just want it to resonate. That's it.
That's all we want to do in this. And I am a firm believer that anybody who goes into attack mode in the environment and the culture of politics that we're in right now, it's gonna be self-inflicted harm.
Yeah.
That's why we won't participate in it, because we've identified and we know that it's not worth it. Someone's gonna come at you and do something or say something or post something or send mailers out about you in a negative light that you're whatever, you're a terrible person, you're a danger to the community, you're all the stuff that's good that potentially will come out. That's not gonna hurt our campaign.
No, I don't believe it.
In fact, it's gonna humanize us more that because these are things that we will have owned up to.
It's also how you
life.
respond from it.
And of course it's how you
respond to it.
Right. But we're not going to be doing that in return. So that will be a one-sided directed thing.
I could see you responding to it, but not in a sense of like fighting back. Like responding to it like, yeah, of course I've made my mistakes.
Well, I'm going to respond to it as refer to this podcast.
Yeah.
Refer to, here we are. We're back in normal politics again.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that we need to clean up.
You know what I want to do? You know what would be the sickest thing ever? I want to sit right there and I want to get one of them over here and I want to be the moderator for a debate.
It won't happen.
No, I know it won't.
It won't happen.
How cool would that be though? How come they don't do debates at...
That's certainly not my decision. I mean, if I could...
Yeah, I know you would.
I would debate in a moment.
I know you would.
I would, well, because I think, again...
Healthy.
It's healthy.
People are wildly fearful of, because I love what you're doing, the social media and all that kind of stuff. Like you're hammering, you're seeing it. So like people live... What I like is you've gone a direction of... Information, right?
Providing information.
But a lot of people find ways to manipulate their information through like... whether it be social or it could be anything, campaigns, ads, anything, right? And, make people believe because people are impressionable. They're very impressionable. They're very easily persuaded. Sure. Yeah. Most people, like a lot of people, they'll see something at face value. They don't take it much deeper. They go and tell everybody, did you see that? And it might've been so far from the truth, but it didn't share a lie. You know what I mean?
No, we've identified that we need to inform people what a commissioner is and what a commissioner does.
So do it.
So this is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. We have interviewed 100+ people, various towns across Bergen County. We have 70 of them, and asked who is one of their commissioners. Crickets. Right. So part of our campaign has been informing people what a commissioner is and what a commissioner does, right? So on one end, when we're going to get hit with being divisive and we're against the Democratic Party, we're trying to divide the Democratic Party. No, what we've identified is we could do a better job. We could be more informative, and we can identify that it's actually a shame that a lot of people don't know the importance of a commissioner.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not throwing that in the commissioner's face. I'm saying that is the state of affairs here currently in Bergen County. I'm sure the commissioners know people at the institutions. Of course, if you go to Newbridge Medical, they're going to be able to tell you who their commissioner.
Is that because they show face?
Well, they show face and they benefit. Well, the county, they benefit from the county. Those are people who will know them.
Yeah.
But if you pull the average person off the street and ask them who their commissioners, they don't know them. So that's the thing that I identified early on. And I said, you know what? I want this campaign to be about informing people what a commissioner is and does. Hey, if I don't win, I did them a favor. I mean, that's
an interesting perspective.
Well, that's the way I look at it.
That's a very good way to look at it.
And that'll actually help them in the future because people actually know how important that job is.
Yeah.
It's beneficial. It's a big list of things that they do. And furthermore, just talking about the way that the system was and how it was broken and now how it's working, which I believe is a more democratic way of how this should be.
It is.
In a democracy, technically, you should be working to earn your seats. I think that's crazy to just think that that's not fair. You should just be able to be put in a place to get elected every time. I think that's crazy, right? So I think that these are things that are coming from a moral good place. Challenging things like that are not coming from a good place. They're coming from it's like the bratty kid, right? That you took away the toy. Okay, that's mine. It's mine. Like it's a power grab. That's the only way you can look at this.
Yeah.
If you're pissed off that people have to work to earn their seats, is insane to me because
just in general, it's like
it's disingenuous to think that that's not fair.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Right.
It's true. And I don't know that. Like, I don't know anybody personally. Right. So I pass judgment and all that kind of stuff.
I do know them.
You do.
And they are not, they're nice people. Like I'm not, they're not
playing a game as you feel like it's nice people playing a game.
They're not enemies at the gate to me. Like,
yeah,
you know,
well, I know how you view them. I know how you view them.
They're, you know, while I'm sitting right here, they're the commissioners of Bergen County.
Yeah.
Right. And we live in a great county, and we do have a beautiful county.
Yeah,
we do.
We do.
Okay. So I'm not sitting here, you know,
you've done everything wrong, and
you've done everything wrong, and you're terrible people.
I know what you're saying.
But the fact that, you know, it causes so much discomfort to be challenged
says something.
And it goes back to my point. My point is that common sense would tell you. Common sense would tell you that is a place of complacency because of the way the system was, right? And you cannot identify that as a symptom of being a protected incumbent. If your reaction is these people are evil because they want to come after our seats, that you just haven't felt what a primary is because you've been able to avoid them all of this time.
Yeah, definitely. Okay? No, I get it.
The system allowed you to avoid them. It didn't work this way in 49 other states.
Yeah.
Now you're part of the country in how the system works and how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So that's where I will always disagree with the sitting commissioners if that's an issue that they have, simply that I'm running.
Do you know 100% that that's the case?
I would have to.
Just by what you hear or what you see?
Sure.
Yeah.
By
a little bit of both.
Every action causes a reaction, right? So simply the fact that, you know, I'm running.
Yeah.
What is the threat of John Vitale running? You have to ask yourself that.
The threat, I think.
What's the threat?
You asking me?
Yeah.
The threat is loss of comfort, power, a seat. You know, that's what I'd imagine it is. But here, this is. I was gonna say, it's like I would love to hear I'd love to hear it. I would love to have one of them sit right there and just hear it. Like I personally would, because I think it'd be interesting to do what you do, to jump on a podcast, right? Like to jump on a podcast and talk for 45 minutes, 50 minutes and be open and willing to do that, to me says a lot. And if I felt like you were bullshitting, or if I felt like you were saying, you know, dancing around things, you know, I, as your friend, would tell you, like, don't do that. You know, it's straight. It's a straight shot. It's what it is. It's what you know right now, presently. All right. And that is good. And I feel that. I don't like the dancing around shit. I just don't. I don't like dancing around. I don't like hiding behind X, Y, and Z. I don't like saying it in a certain place because you can. I you know, if these are genuine issues that politicians or anybody in general, it could be my friend, are having, I want you to. I want to hear it.
Right.
I want to hear openly, and make it make sense. Because if it's real, people will feel it. But what I feel like when you don't, you're fearful that it's not.
Right. Well,
you're fearful that it's going to be taken the wrong way.
Right. And it just sheds light on my point.
Yeah.
You know, that my run is validated.
Correct.
Day after day after day that I'm on the campaign trail, because, you know, again, just to be clear, no one knew that this was going to happen with the county line. Nobody knew that. I didn't know that when I committed.
Yeah, it's not like you had people sign petitions.
No idea that was going to happen. Okay, so the fact that I decided to run, okay, could have been in column G in the old days, just nowhere near where I needed tucked away somewhere. Yeah. It's not my fault that I ran on a year that I'm in the line. That is the crime I've committed right now, running for office. Now, and I firmly believe that's it. It's a timing thing. It's all things that are not in my control. But what's in my control is to talk the truth about the message, about what I feel, what I think, why I'm running, what I'm going to do. I think that in the current situation of the incumbents, it's harder for them because what is there to defend that wasn't the way it was? Yeah.
This was good. This was like on the fly, and I don't mean to cut you. You know, I think this is good. This was like, he's like, hey, listen, I got an hour. You know, I want to come and talk. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm at the office. Let's just do this. You know what I mean? Keep it rolling. I'm rooting for you as a human being, first and foremost. And again, as a like citizen, somebody who's now back in my hometown and, you know, a part of Bergen County, you know, I want real. I just really genuinely want real, and I want to feel like things are trending in the right direction. I'm super blessed to be here in this county in general. Like, and that's full transparency, without any knowledge of what the hell goes on. Like, I love my community. I love my town. I love living here. You know, I feel good about so many different things. But the older I get, I have a 3-year-old son, I want things to be even better. I want things to feel even more genuine. And, you know, you're somebody who, outside of all the BS, man, like, you've been good to me, you've been good to my family, you've been good to the many, many people who have walked in the Cafe Anello door, the Sonio door, you know, walk through Westwood, and I see you and how you greet people, and like, there's just a realness about you. And so, like, anytime you call me and it's like, hey, you know, I want to talk, I want to get something off my, of course, bro, like, of course. Before we go, one thing to leave people with. Like, one thing that if you had one thing to leave, I would even look in the camera. You know what I mean? Like, what's one thing that you would leave people with before we jump off here?
Well, I mean, come June 10th, you have a decision to make. And if you are in the Democratic Party or unaffiliated, you have an opportunity to vote in this primary. And this is one of one. This is the first time in a primary that, as I talked about, the removal of the county line has led to a more competitive race. You'll see John Vitale in the line of all the candidates on the ballot this time. You'll see Chris Chung, you'll see Dolores Swetko, you'll see all of the people who are on it for the Team Fulop campaign. And it's important. You know, your vote matters. And I think that myself running and my running mates running, that's our call to action. And we have an opportunity to make a difference. We're not running on a slogan, Democrats for change, for no reason. Change can happen despite political affiliation if you have the right people in office, right? And so I believe that I'm capable of doing the work that needs to be done. And anybody who knows me knows if I set my mind on a mission to help, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to complete all of the objectives. And the things that I can't complete will be obviously obstacles that we hit in the new world of politics to me when I'm your next commissioner and when Chris and Dolores are your next commissioners. It's important. You have to vote on character and vote for the person. We've lost sight of that, and things have become incredibly tribal in the political climate these days. But we are not part of this old school regimen of politics. We are new blood with innovative ideas, and we are going up against the system. And that's a tough, bold decision that we made. We understood there's repercussions to that, which we're already dealing with. But those repercussions are validation to the fact that we have the correct campaign message, that everybody out there is tired of the same politics, the same good old system. We need to change it. And it starts with a vote for Chung, Vitale, and Whitco, and for Fulop and the ticket down the line.
Very well said.
Thank you, man.
You're good at this.
I appreciate you having me on.
You're good at this, dude.
This spur of the moment, man.
Who'd have thunk? I love it, dude. No, I love you, man. Really do.
Thank you.
My home is always your home.
I appreciate that,
So
Robbie.
Keep fighting a good fight, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, bro.
Always love.
Always.
No more time in the basement. No more time wasted. This is celebration, elevation. No more contemplation. No hesitation. This my destination.